We are just a few days away from what I believe will be one of the most consequential elections in my lifetime. And people have to make choices. Decisions have to be made. As a Minnesota voter, I want to make one final plea to every Minnesotan that is eligible to vote. Whether or not you've decided you're going to vote or you're on the fence, do you want to give the man that has presided over Minnesota for the last 4 years another opportunity, or do you want to give someone else a chance? My pick is Dr. Scott Jensen. But before you make that choice, I want to remind you of the choices that laid before Governor Tim Walz that he made. It's not like there was only one option and he chose it. Other governors in other states made different decisions that had entirely better outcomes than the ones made by this governor. He chose to shut down in-person learning in schools all across the state, which has led to some of the sharpest drops in reading and math proficiency, especially in communities of color, a choice that has been especially devastating to the parents of special needs children, setting their children back years. He chose to shut down non-essential and elective surgeries and screenings that are early detection methods of diseases and cancers. He chose to discharge COVID patients from hospitals to long-term care facilities, aka nursing homes, like the one my mother lives in which a COVID positive patient spread COVID throughout the entire facility, causing death. He chose to have a policy that meant that people died alone without their loved ones to embrace them. That is something that no person should ever have to experience. That is a loss of human dignity. He chose to enforce a policy that banned all gatherings of 10 or more people that were not in the same household. This meant canceling church service, religious service, group therapy, chemical dependency meetings. All of these things took a toll on people emotionally, mentally, which has led to increased amounts of overdose deaths. In Minnesota, overdose deaths increased by 62%. To enforce these bans, he turned citizens on each other by having a hotline to call to say that your neighbor is violating this ban. He arbitrarily shut down certain businesses, deciding that you could go and shop at these big box stores, but you couldn't go to the mom and pop store, devastating the livelihood of thousands of Minnesotans. He chose to not deploy the Minnesota National Guard, while rioters and looters were destroying and devastating communities of color. He chose to let the 3rd Minneapolis Police Precinct be abandoned. It was set on fire, and to this day, it has not been rebuilt and restored. This has caused an unprecedented amount of lawlessness in the area around the 3rd Precinct. Now, I know that there's many more that I missed, but I want you to consider that these were choices, and he could have chose a different option. Other states made different decisions on all of these issues and have fared far better than Minnesota. So when you go to vote, do you give this man another 4 years of power to continue to make terrible decisions? Or will you choose to give Dr. Scott Jensen and his running mate, Matt Burke, an opportunity to lead this state, to heal Minnesota? I just hope you make the one in which you don't give more power to an authoritarian.